Once upon a time,
there was a king.
That would be me.
And a queen who said every day, if only we had a child. But they never had one. But it happened that once, when the queen was bathing, a frog crept out of the water and said to her, "Your wish shall be fulfilled. For in 1 year, you shall give birth to a daughter." What the frog had said came true, and the queen had a little girl who was so pretty that the king could not contain himself for joy, and ordered a great feast.
There'll be feasts and feasting, and then dancing and songs, and then more feasting.
He invited not only his kindred friends and acquaintances, but also the wise women, in order that they might be kind and well disposed towards the child.
Oh, look, a baby!
There were 13 of them in his kingdom, but as he had only 12 golden plates for them to eat out of, one of them had to be left at home. The feast was held with all manner of splendor, and when it came to an end, the wise women bestowed their magical gifts upon the child. One gave
virtue,
another
beauty,
a third, and so on, with everything in the world that one could wish for. When the 11th had made her promise, suddenly the 13th came bursting in. She wished to avenge herself for not being invited, and without greeting or even looking at anyone, she cried in a loud voice, "The king's daughter shall in her 15th year prick herself with a spindle and fall down dead." And without saying a word more, she turned and left the room. They were all shocked. But the 12th, whose good wish still remained unspoken, came forward, and as she could not undo the evil sentence, but only soften it, she said, "Dearest audience, it is now up to you to decide the fate of our baby princess. Will the 12th fairy say,
The princess shall not die, but shall fall into a deep sleep for 100 years.
sleep,
or shall the 12th fairy say,
The princess shall not die, but shall serve for 100 years as a diner waitress.
servitude it is?
Princess shall not die, but shall serve for 100 years as a diner waitress.
The king, who was fain to keep his dear child from this misfortune, gave orders that every spindle in the kingdom should be burnt.
burn all the spindles.
Burn the spindles!
And that all the diners must be closed.
The diners must be closed.
Close the diners!
And as she grew, the gifts of the wise women were fulfilled, and the princess was indeed so beautiful, modest, and good-natured and wise that everyone who saw her was bound to love her. Until it happened that on the very day when she was on her 15th year, the king and queen went for some mommy and daddy time, and the maiden was left home in the palace quite alone. So she went round into all sorts of places. She looked into rooms
What's going on in here?
and bedchambers just as she liked, until she came at last to an old tower. She climbed up the winding stairs and reached a little door and opened it. And there in the room sat an old woman spinning. "Good day, old dame," said the king's daughter. "What are you doing there?" "I am spinning," said the old woman and nodded her head. "What sort of thing is that rattles around so merrily?" said the girl. And she took the spindle and wanted to spin too. But scarcely had she touched the spindle when the magic decree was fulfilled and she pricked her finger with it. And so the princess found herself whisked away to the forgotten diner at the crossroads, a small hole in the wall that her father had overlooked, as most folks did. It was a friendly place with a bottomless cup of coffee and a grilled cheese sandwich special. For 100 years, the princess toiled away, serving up coffee and dishing out advice.
You know, Charlie, that word ain't gonna fix itself. You should rub the tongue of a cricket.
And though she worked hard day and night, she aged not a bit, and she was still as beautiful, modest, good-natured, and wise as ever. Until one day, a tall, handsome, and well-dressed stranger came into town. He was looking for love and a grilled cheese special.
Well, difference.
When his eyes fell upon the princess, he felt his heart flutter, and he knew at that moment that he was in love with her. Impulsively, under the control of his overflowing heart, he grabbed her hand and fell to one knee. He professed his undying love, asked for her hand in marriage, and in a final romantic gesture, kissed the back of her hand. The princess looked about as though awakening from a daze. For the kiss of the handsome stranger had broken the spell, and she suddenly remembered who she was. After a moment, she looked down at the handsome stranger and said, "Dearest audience, it is once again time for you to decide. Shall the princess say yes to the handsome stranger? Or will she decide to seek her fortune elsewhere, living by her wits alone?"
Wits alone! Wits alone! Wits alone!
Let's try. We seem to have a tie.
Yes!
Wits alone!
Wits alone!
Wits alone it is. She looked deeply into his eyes and said,
I shall respectfully decline.
and so the princess pondered her fate for a long while. And then she decided to put her 100 years of diner knowledge to use. One of the wise women had promised her riches, and over those 100 years, she had saved every penny she earned working in the diner. She opened a chain of diner at the crossroads restaurants.
Grand opening!
Not at crossroads, with a mission to bring a bottomless cup of coffee and grilled cheese sandwiches to the world. Eventually, the restaurants became so popular that she began to sell franchises, and with her newfound riches, opened the alternative school for princesses, where princesses could learn that there was more to life than waiting around to be rescued by a prince. And of course, she lived